1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of Arizona Sports. That's right, it is a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. 855-212-4CBS, number to jump on in, 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. We got a whole lot to do today. Moist Mike is to my left. I got Stuart Kovacs back in our New York City headquarters. Pete McCarthy on the updates as we are here for the next 3 days in Phoenix, Arizona, the site of the men's Final Four. We are today at our friend's studio at Arizona Sports. Tomorrow and Friday we'll be on Westwood One's Radio Row. We'll have a ton of guests for you live in person. But today, Drew Joyce, the new head basketball coach at Duquesne, he was LeBron James's teammate in high school. He's going to stop by. So we'll talk with him in about 20 minutes as he's now the new head coach of Duquesne for the basketball program. Austin Ekeler, who goes from the Chargers to the Commanders, he'll stop by at 4:20 p.m. Eastern, 1:20 p.m. Pacific today, and we will bump Winkler Wednesdays from his normal time slot to 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific today. Bart Winkler, of course, the host of the Bart Winkler Show right here on CBS Sports Radio. So let me start off with our journey today to Phoenix, Arizona. There is no doubt about it. There was some bad weather in New York today. Samter was sitting in front of me. I thought for a moment I was going to projectile vomit all over Samter because the turbulence was just god-awful on this flight for the first hour. As the plane was bumping, it was going nuts, it was going crazy, and I get a little motion sick. So when the plane was going nuts, I thought I was going to have to use the little baggie for a while. And I'm sitting there on the plane, and eventually we find smooth flying, and I'm watching First Take. And they're doing a segment, and it has to do with Stefon Diggs. And this is before the Stefon Diggs trade did go down. And pretty much the segment was over a tweet that Stefon Diggs did send last night, where it goes back to 2-3 days ago. RG3, Robert Griffin III, was doing a segment on his podcast, and basically he was just asking, can Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen still coexist, and are they needed together to continue to excel and have Josh Allen continue to excel with the Buffalo Bills? So they're doing that segment, and Stefon Diggs responded to the tweet of a fan, actually, that was basically like, Josh doesn't need Stefon Diggs anymore, and all Stefon Diggs did in the last 24 hours was respond saying, you sure about that? So when I saw that tweet, I kind of rolled my eyes, and I was a little bit annoyed about it because I'm like, here we go again, just with the jackassery and the petulant behavior that's been going down between Stefon Diggs, the Buffalo Bills. I guess you could include Josh Allen in there, where everyone's telling you every little thing is going to be all right, but then the actions keep on showing you that there's something that we're not in the know about, and there's clearly some issue. And when someone tells you there is no issue and there keeps on being smoke and you keep on seeing smoke, well, guess what? Where there's smoke, there's a fire. And you see that tweet, and I basically just said, uh-oh, here we go again. It's the never-ending cycle of Stefon Diggs appearing not to be happy in Buffalo. We know that he wasn't happy in Minnesota, and that's what led to the trade of him going to the Buffalo Bills. But then it was so funny because I see this segment on First Take. They go to commercial break, they come back, and we have breaking news. Now, I'm on the plane. I just bought Wi-Fi, and I'm waiting for the breaking news, and I could not believe the breaking news, even though the breaking news wasn't something that was so unexpected where it's like, oh my goodness gracious, because of what I just said, there's been issues in Buffalo the last 2 years with Stefon Diggs. And the breaking news, as everyone knows by now, is that Stefon Diggs is getting traded to the Houston Texans, along with a 6th-round pick in 2024 and a 5th-round pick in 2025. And the Buffalo Bills get back a 2025 2nd-round pick, ironically enough, via the Minnesota Vikings. So I think there's two reactions to this. There's the Bills side of this, and then there's the Texans side of it. Let's start off with the Bills side of it. I am relieved today. I am actually happy that this nonsense is now over, because you knew a divorce was inevitable with Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs, and the Buffalo Bills. And you knew Josh Allen, obviously, because he's the franchise quarterback, as should he was going to win out in whatever this kerfuffle was about, where they keep on telling you it wasn't an issue, and clearly it was an issue. But I know a lot of people today are going to slam the Bills. They're going to say the Bills window is closed and the Buffalo Bills will never get it done with Josh Allen. I vehemently disagree with that. Josh Allen, let's remind everybody, even without Stefon Diggs, he still goes into next season as a top 3 quarterback in the sport. Mahomes is 1, Joe Burrow is 2, and then Josh Allen is in at number 3. What is happening in Buffalo right now, because of the salary cap situation they were in, is they need a retool season where Josh Allen could still lead this team to the playoffs. They are not a lock like they've been the last few years to win the division, but they could still win this division, and the Buffalo Bills could still be a playoff team next year. You're not, though, going to see the Bills be a Super Bowl team this year unless Josh Allen really just goes all franchise quarterback mode and he puts on the Superman cape and he carries this team to an AFC championship game and they're able to propel themselves into a Super Bowl. Now, they do have some youngsters on this team, and you saw James Cook come on towards the end of the season. He had a very good year. Dalton Kincaid came on at the end of the season as well, and those are 2 nice young building block pieces for the future. But the Buffalo Bills roster as it's constructed today isn't going to be the Buffalo Bills roster that takes the field in September. And this was even before we knew Stefon Diggs was going to be traded. I did a segment on this show 3-4 weeks ago where I said the Bills are going to be aggressive in the draft. We know Brandon Beane is an aggressive general manager. He was aggressive trading up to go get Josh Allen and moving up from way back in the draft when they were a playoff team into the top 10 to secure the services of Josh Allen. I think he's going to say bleep it once again. And I think he's going to pull Les Snead and say bleep those draft picks once again, and he will trade and he will mortgage future draft capital to go move up from the Bills sitting at the 28th pick right now to get into the top 15, maybe get into the top 10 and secure a wide receiver in a deep wide receiving draft class and find a way to go get one of these highly coveted wide receivers. I don't think he's going to be able to get Marvin Harrison Jr. Can you get a Roma Dunze? Can you find a way to get a Malik Neighbors? Potentially. But I believe Brandon Beane is going to try his hardest, and I believe he's going to be aggressive to move up the draft board to go get Josh Allen, a bona fide number one wide receiver. But the Buffalo Bills situation with Stefon Diggs, and just getting back to that for a second, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze anymore. And he was a headache. He was a pain in the ass. I know there's probably 2 sides to every story, But this was something that was just lingering and lingering and lingering. And you knew one day Stefon Diggs was going to be released or he was going to be traded by the Buffalo Bills. I thought that this relationship would last one more year because of the cap hit of it being $30 million for him not to be on the roster this year. However, when Buffalo's kind of in this retool mode where they're trying to reshape their roster quickly to reignite that championship window because you still have a top 3 quarterback in the sport, it does kind of make sense that you cut ties now. Because I believe Stefon Diggs is in the start of his decline as an NFL player and as a number 1 wide receiver, and you saw it last year. The proof was in the stats. And I know sometimes I'll say stats are for losers, but the facts are with Stefon Diggs, for a guy that is paid the money he is, you can't have your last 100-yard game of the season back on October 15th. You can't have your last touchdown on the season back on November 26th. And those were the facts this year with Stefon Diggs. So it's one thing to be a pain in the ass. It's one thing to be unhappy and cause problems in the locker room when the team basically held your hand and defended you the entire way. But then you weren't producing. And you go back to that game in Buffalo, and it was the playoff game in Cincinnati up against the Bengals 2 years ago. That was basically the demise of this Bills group as we did know it. Because Stefon Diggs freaked out after that game, and then it was the offseason of Stefon Diggs and why Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen don't get along. And I don't know what the truth is of that situation. But regardless of what the facts are, it was not handled the right way. Stefon Diggs really didn't do anything to put out the flames of the fire, and he kept on having vague references and ambiguous tweets and ambiguous press conferences that did pop up when everyone was basically kissing his behind. So you're at a point where when you're not producing on the field, it is tough to get rid of someone who's meant so much to that organization, but you got to hold up your end of the bargain. And down the stretch, Stefon Diggs wasn't holding up his end of the bargain. And I know that it's a 2025 second-round pick, but if Diggs wasn't happy, and if Diggs, kind of looked like the receiver he was at the second half of last season, you would not have got in this offseason, next offseason, let's say if you traded him a year from now, anywhere close to a second-round pick and a future second-round pick. And he would have been a year older. So the timing, even though most of us expected Stefon Diggs to be back for one more last hurrah with the Buffalo Bills, it actually does make sense that they pulled the trigger now. But, could we just put an end now? And this just shows it. Whenever there is a pending issue and players say, oh, the media is making it more of a deal, sometimes the media does make things a bigger deal than what it needs to be. But when there was just countless and countless and countless of stories here, I don't think it was, there was nothing really to see here. And that's what the Bills, to try to rectify this relationship or to try to elongate this relationship, that's what they did the last year and a half. They tried to tell you there wasn't a problem, but you knew inevitably that there was going to be a split. So Buffalo is now in this retooling mode where because of their quarterback and who he is, they could still contend for a division championship. They could still make the playoffs. But I'm not going to look at the Bills this year as a team that I expect to go to a Super Bowl with all these changes. And I don't think they are a top 3 or even a top 4 AFC title contender this year. Now let's get to the other side. Even with everything I just said about Stefon Diggs, this is his last chance. Because in Minnesota, he was good, but he was a problem. In Buffalo, he was good for the most part, but he was a problem. Now you go to the Texans. And let me just start off by saying this. I believe the Texans made a low-risk, high-reward move today. And I like this move that the Houston Texans did make. You already had a good young wide receiving core. Tank Dell coming off the injury. Nico Collins had a breakout season a year ago. And now you add in Stefon Diggs, and you put more around your young quarterback who is on a rookie contract and doesn't have the mega salary yet. And you were able to get Joe Mixon this offseason. You're able to improve the defense as well by getting Danielle Hunter. I love what the Texans have done this offseason. The Texans realize they have a window to go win a Super Bowl. They were way ahead of the process a year ago. They won the division. No one in their right mind picked the Texans to win the division before the season did commence. And not only that, they won a playoff game. And you have a top 5 quarterback already in the sport. I've said this before. The top 5 quarterbacks in the sport are Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and then it's C.J. Stroud. So they are putting that young quarterback in a position to not only succeed, but exceed what he did a year ago. And things could change very quickly in the NFL. And it wasn't that long ago where we all looked at the Texans as a joke and as a laughingstock of the league. And now they're a team that has a window for the foreseeable future. So, yes, you have to be a little weary. Yes, you have to be a little skeptical of the mercurial attitude of Stefon Diggs. But this was a move that it's worth the gamble for the Texans to take. Because the Texans can win without Stefon Diggs. So if he becomes a malcontent in that locker room, which he shouldn't be, but you never know, then you just cut him and you get rid of him. But now you put a new quarterback with Stefon Diggs and you just enhance this offense. I like the move by the Texans. So it's weird to say that it's a win-win because for Buffalo, you have to eat the money. You only get a second-round pick. But this divorce was just getting pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. And if you're in a retooling year, it's better to get out now than a year later where it may have been too late and you really wouldn't have got anything that was rich in return. And for the Texans, it just further improves this roster. It further improves this team. And the Texans in a year have gone from the outhouse to the penthouse. And they are one of the better teams in the AFC. Like right now, and we'll do this later on in the show, when I look at Super Bowl contenders in the AFC, number 1, Kansas City. Number 2, Cincinnati. And then it's the Houston Texans in at number 3. So that's the reaction today as we've seen the Buffalo Bills say goodbye to Stefon Diggs. And now he's going to have a new home with C.J. Stroud as his new quarterback. And we start to wonder how quickly can Brandon Beane rebuild this thing in Buffalo, retool this thing in Buffalo to get them back looking like a championship contender. We'll take a time out on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We're broadcasting to you live today in Phoenix, Arizona, at the fine studios of Arizona Sports. Tomorrow we'll be on Radio Row from the Phoenix Convention Center as we get you set for the men's Final Four. We'll do a little basketball talk on the, when we come back from the break. Keith Dambrot was the longtime coach at Duquesne. He's now retired. And his assistant, Drew Joyce, who was once a player for Keith Dambrot and also teammates of LeBron James back in high school, he's going to join us when we return, and we'll talk about maybe the future of Bronny James. We'll get into the future of the Duquesne program and so much more with Drew Joyce III, who will join us on the Zach Gelb Show when we return in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling from the site of the Final Four, Phoenix, Arizona. If you look back at the Duquesne basketball season, we all remember their great first-round victory up against BYU. Their new head basketball coach is Drew Joyce III. He's no stranger to the program. He's been on the staff, and now he's the head honcho of Duquesne, and Coach is kind enough to join us right now. Coach, first and foremost, congratulations. Thanks so much for jumping on board with us, and how you been?
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you today. I look forward to it. I've been great. The last couple of days have been very, very busy. But it's I just know that I'm blessed and fortunate to be in this position, and I've been at it already. I'm already working. I'm already rolling. So I'm just excited for what's to come.
Well, we'd love to hear that. We'll talk about the future of your program in just a bit. But how do you kind of look back at this season first with what you guys were able to accomplish, get it into the tourney, winning a tournament game, in Coach Dan Brott's final season? How do you kind of recap the season from a year ago?
Man, we made history. And it was a lot of fun. I think sometimes as coaches, you forget to enjoy it and have fun. You try to remind your players of that all the time, but as coaches, you need to do it too. And I remember me and Coach Dan Brott just discussing it, and we would just say to each other even before the games, let's have some fun today. The element of that run that we had, where our mindset was, where our poise was unbelievable as a staff. And it was fun to be a part of, and what our guys accomplished was huge. When you get to the later stages of the season, I think what starts to come about in the team is the connection, not only just fighting when you're on the court, but making sure you're fighting for the next man next to you. And our guys really embodied that. Their connection was strong. They were playing their best basketball, and they just played confident. They enjoyed the moment. And they just hunted every possession, every game. That was their mindset. That was their attitude. And it's a blessing to be able to hold that trophy at the end of that A-10 tournament. And then it was awesome to get Coach Dambrot his first win in March Madness to cap off his wonderful career.
And that's a career that obviously you played a big part of, going back many years ago as Drew Joyce III, the new head basketball coach at Duquesne, joins us. I know you could probably spend a lot of time talking about Coach Dambrot and what he's meant to your life, but to kind of know that you guys were able to send him out that way, and now you get to take over a program that he was the head coach of, just personally, to have that continuity and to continue to have this relationship and be side by side with him, how do you kind of reflect on that experience and what it's meant to you with how many years that relationship has spanned over?
Yeah, like you said, I've known Coach Dambrot since the age of 12. That's how far we go back. Our relationship started when he didn't even have a head coaching position. He was just giving his time to the youth and having basketball clinics and basketball camps. And I got to see the passion that he had early on in those early stages of how he felt about basketball, his energy that he wanted to pour in as far as teaching the game. And years later, being on the sidelines with him, as I want to get his age correct, 65. But he embodied those same values and principles that I seen when I was 12 years old. It was like, man, this is amazing. This guy hasn't missed a beat. His attention to detail was just like it was when I played for him in high school. His energy, his intensity, because everyone knows Coach Dambrot, he's intense in practice and on the sidelines, but it's all with intent and purpose. And that never changed, that never wavered. And to believe that guy had been doing it for 40 years, to bring that work ethic, it was unbelievable to be a part of and see. And it taught me a whole lot about how you got to approach each and every day with the mindset of that you're working towards being the best version of yourself, and you don't take any moment for granted.
You are a disciple of his, so there's going to be a lot of similarities, but how do you kind of put your own creative spin on the program now as we kind of enter a new era of Duquesne basketball?
You know, after talking with him throughout the season and even before, he's done a terrific job of giving me an opportunity to really learn this role from an assistant coaching standpoint, with giving me different experiences and opportunities, as well as my first head coach, Dennis Gates. It was a blessing to work for both of those guys because they never stunted my growth. They allowed me to keep growing and giving me different obstacles and challenges to take on. And what I take from him is, like I said, there'll be some similarities, but in our approach, because he did things the right way. But I'm also encouraged by him saying that I have to be Drew. I have to be who I am, and I have to do it my way. I can't be anyone else. So I'm going to be successful at being the best person that I can be, and what I believe in for not only our staff and our players, but our entire program.
Coach Drew Joyce III here with us, new head basketball coach at Duquesne. People that are familiar with your story know that you played high school basketball with LeBron James. That was a pretty good savvy move by you to get LeBron to break that story that you were going to be the new head honcho.
Yeah, I'm putting the pressure on people, man. Rothstein, Jeff Goodman, they don't get to sit back and relax and get all the breaking news. They gotta up their game a little bit. So I went with a power move. I tried to
say the least.
The initial source, with an unquestioned source, right? As he commented on there. But you know, it was Bron being Bron, man. You know, I've known him since I've been 9 years old. We competed against each other. We competed together. We've been friends and brothers forever. And there's a sense of loyalty. There's a huge sense of support, and there's the value of trust and honesty that we have between each other. And you know, I appreciate him for doing that. He didn't have to. He didn't have to extend his time or his platform, but he did. And you know, regardless of if he did that or if he didn't, you know, nothing would change. That's still going to be my guy. You know, we're still going to, you know, have the relationship that we both value.
And he's been supportive of you. He's been supportive of Coach Dan Brott, and that's been well documented in this last year of Duquesne basketball. But I'm curious, since you've known him for so many years, what do your players ask you? Because we all know LeBron is larger than life to your basketball players.
So you can never do a surprise around them, because every surprise, they think LeBron is in the locker room or about to come.
That's great.
Come out the stands, and he has this message, and you know, and then I get the non-believers like, you can't FaceTime him, you can't text him right now. So you know, our guys, you know, they got a lot of jokes, but they appreciate the gestures that he does for this program. We're excited to be a part of his brand. We get to wear his logo on apparel. We get the custom-made shoes, and sometimes we get a couple special deliveries as well. So, you know, it just goes a long way of who he is. You know, he's invested in the young guys and the youth. He's invested in basketball. And he's invested in our program, and he wants to see us do well. He wants us to have success.
Talking to Drew Joyce III, the new coach of Duquesne basketball, a lot of us are trying to figure out what Bronny can be as a basketball player. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen him play with your relationship with LeBron. Just what are your thoughts about what Bronny could develop to be as a basketball player?
I'm not certain I can comment on that. I don't know the rules and allegations behind that, but I'll comment on the young man that I know he's being raised to be. I know his mother and his father and the values and that they've instilled in him. So being that I know that he comes from that stock, I don't expect anything but him to be of high character, goal driven, and he's going to have success.
So let me ask it then to you this way, because there's all these rumors, right, that Bronny's going to hit the transfer portal, and then with your connection with LeBron, people are already speculating maybe Bronny goes to Duquesne. But if it's not just to Bronny, let's just say it's to a regular player, what is your recruiting pitch to have a player join your program and get coached by you?
So you want me to just to lay out all my details and secrets right on in front of everybody? No, I don't even think of it as a pitch. I'm not trying to be a salesman. You know, when I speak to young men, I'm gonna be honest and transparent about my approach and what they're getting themselves into, and I'm going to let them know that, you know, this experience won't be transactional, no matter the circumstances or the environment that or the state of the game where we are right now. That's cool. I'm okay with guys getting paid. I'm for it. I think it's in the best interest of the sport, and these guys are well deserving of it. But at the end of the day, I value relationships. There's something that can last longer than the paycheck. I wouldn't be here without them. I know what has gotten me to success, and it's the people that have supported me, that have, you know, poured knowledge and wisdom into me, and time, energy, and effort, and the ones that I can pick up the phone and call, and who will listen or help me in time of need. I've had that throughout my career as a coach, as a player. I learned that from my dad as a young man, who was my first coach. So it's bigger than basketball for me. It's bigger than the X's and O's. I feel like it's my purpose to be able to help a young man and make an impact. So that's just true to who I am. I'm not going to change or waver from that. I think that is ultimately what's of value here, and that is just what you're going to get from me, and that is I'll stand on that.
It seems like it's really the true definition of a family, is that a family culture is what you're trying to build. And we've seen it right in your relationships with your dad and, his background as a coach, and then also with your long relationship with Coach Dan Brott. It's very unique to have a relationship with someone since you're 12 to continue all the way through this span through sports and through basketball. So it seems like you're truly building through your walk of life a family kind of culture there and continuing that at Duquesne.
Yeah, I don't know anything too much different. And I've been in my share of locker rooms as a player and a coach now, and some of them have been successful and others haven't. And I try to weigh the pros and cons each year on what were the differences and what were some of the similarities. And I think the connection is something that always stands out. The connection amongst the staff and the connection amongst the players that equate to the success. And that doesn't mean that it's always going to be a championship at the end of the day, but it just means that a group embarked on a journey. They decided to work together. They poured all of their time and energy and effort into the process, and they're willing to live with the results. And they realize that they did it together. And like I said, it doesn't always equate to holding the trophy at the end, but I think there's a lot to be said about going through a process and a journey with someone who was locked in with you.
Well, Coach, heck of a season you guys just had this past year. Congratulations once again on the new opportunity, and we appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You got it. We'll do it again soon. There he is, the head coach of Duquesne with their men's basketball team, Drew Joyce III, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We're broadcasting to you today live in Phoenix, Arizona, the start of 3 shows out here in the desert as we inch closer and closer to the men's Final Four, which will come your way on Saturday evening with UConn going up against Alabama, and then the matchups of the big fellas between DJ Burns of NC State and Zach Edey of Purdue. We'll take a timeout. When we come on back, we'll update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We call that segment the News Brief. But let's send it back to our New York City studios first. I thought he was out. Now he's back in. Here he is, always ready to rock. It is the great Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Call or click today to find out if they could save you hundreds on your car insurance. The Texans are looking to build on their big season from a year ago and are getting another big target for C.J. Stroud, acquiring Stefon Diggs from the Bills along with a 5th-round pick this year and a 6th next year. In return, Houston sends a 2nd-round pick in 2025 that did belong to the Vikings for the 4-time Pro Bowler. Chiefs receiver Rashee Rice issued a statement saying he's met with Dallas police regarding the accident over the weekend that he was a part of and that he takes full responsibility for his role in it and will continue to cooperate with them. The Hornets will be looking for a new head coach with Steve Clifford stepping down at season's end. Baseball action this afternoon. Corey Seager, his first home run of the season. Rangers lead the Rays 4-1 in the bottom of the 9th. Top of the 8th, it's the Angels on top of the 0-6 Marlins, 9-2. Right now, the Twins have rallied and have taken a 6-3 lead over the Brewers. Bottom of the 7th, Jackson Chourio with his first Major League home run in that one. And the Red Sox and A's are underway and scoreless in Oakland. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, this is Bart Winkler. I've got a new show weeknights. Join me for the Bart Winkler Show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Only on CBS Sports Radio.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
It's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's get to a news brief.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
All righty, let's start it off with Greg Holcomb. If you're not familiar with the name, he is J.J. McCarthy's personal QB coach, and he was on the Kevin Sheehan show on the Team 980 in D.C., and the quarterback coach revealed the possibility of maybe J.J. McCarthy going to the Commanders at number 2. Listen up.
I do know that Jim told me there was a very positive conversation with the Washington people at the NFL Combine, and they just said a lot of really nice things about JJ, that he checks all these boxes and it will be hard for anybody to pass on him. And, you know, I mean, I'm sure they're telling that to a lot of people, and they've probably got to make sure that they're, you know, including everyone. But it sounds like there's a handful of specific teams that are really kind of, you know, in the wheelhouse to grab him.
And you think, based on that, Washington's one of them?
I do.
Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to take J.J. McCarthy with the second pick, because he even said it along the lines of, you start to wonder how many more teams that they're saying it to, but they were one of the teams that had positive things to say about one J.J. McCarthy. Now, ultimately, I would be shocked. I would really be floored if we're sitting there at the end of April and the Commanders are making the pick, second overall pick in the draft, and if they say the Washington Commanders select J.J. McCarthy, quarterback out of Michigan, I'd be stunned. It should be Jaden Daniels. I'm not going to rule out Drake May. I think it could be Drake May, but I really think it's a decision between those two. But McCarthy's stock is obviously rising, and about a month and a half ago, I would have been surprised if he was a top 10 pick. Now you think he's going to be a top 5 pick, because I believe someone's going to go try to trade up to 4 or 5 to snag him. And if he's still available at 6, and it feels like the Giants will take him as well. Let's go to Jim Nagy and Peter Schrager. Jim Nagy is the director of the Senior Bowl. Peter Schrager, obviously longtime NFL Network host on the NFL interest in potentially DJ Burns, the big fella out of NC State, maybe saying goodbye to basketball and going to the NFL. Here is the season with Peter Schrager.
A buddy of mine who's a scout that lives in the research triangle there, he texted me. He was like, man, you are killing me right now. His hope was NC State gets bounced in the first round or in the first couple rounds. Yep. And then he was going to try to sneak in and get over there and work him on himself and, you know, stash the guy away and sign him after the draft. He's like, well, now that's not in the cards, because you're right. If they had a pro day, man, over half the league would probably be there, I would guess.
Yeah. You see that body. You see how nimble he is. You see the way he moves in the paint. That is offensive lineman footwork, man. All that stuff that he's doing, the drop step, all that stuff, that is stuff that offensive line coaches spend years trying to develop.
I could see it. I don't think DJ Burns has a professional future in basketball. What I mean by that is in the NBA. Like, could he go overseas and that's considered professional? Absolutely. I would be intrigued by seeing him as an NFL offensive lineman, and I think it would be a good move, but it seems like DJ isn't interested from something I read that he said in the last 24 to 48 hours, but there you go. That's going to get a lot of pub with Jim Nagy and Peter Schrager talking about it. Let's go to DJ Burns. He was on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt the other night, and he commented on Nikola Jokic, praising him the other day.
I think he's so skilled, especially lefty. I love to be lefty, and like, it seems like teammates like to play with him, so got to be a good guy.
When you heard him talking about you that way, what did you think?
Oh, man, I think it's the coolest thing in the world. You know, you can go up to my coaches, you know, right now and ask them who do I think is the best big in the league right now. And sorry, Embiid, but I'm going with Jokic. That's just how I've been since I've seen him play. I think that we have more of a similar playing style than myself and Embiid, and that's what really drew me to him out of the two.
No, you look at Nikola Jokic. He's a great scorer, and he's just as good of a passer. And we know that he fills up the rebounding department as well a ton on the stat sheet, as he's just a walking triple-double. And what a performance that was last night, as you got to see a little bit of Nikola Jokic go up against Victor Wembanyama. Both of them were sensational in the game, and we know Denver ended up winning. But pretty cool when you have NBA players talking about the stars on both the men's and women's side of March Madness. And DJ Burns, the stock just keeps on rising from Tennessee, then Winthrop, and now having one last hurrah at NC State, and they're in the Final Four, and no one would have predicted that. They were 17-14. You know, they win 5 games in 5 days in the ACC tournament, and now they are 40 minutes away in basketball terms from going to a championship game that would come your way on Monday night. But that's going to be a fun matchup with Purdue, with Zach Edey going up against DJ Burns, an NC State tournament. In the men's side, it doesn't have a lot of stars and recognizable names. Those two names, we knew that Edey was already a household name, but now Burns, for this tournament's sake, has turned into one of the biggest names of the tourney. Let's go to Paul Pierce, the former NBA player for the Boston Celtics. He had very interesting comments on Undisputed on FS1. I guess this is what FS1's trying to do to bump up their ratings when talking about Caitlin Clark.
I'm going to just keep it 100 with you. We saw a white girl in Iowa do it to a bunch of black girls. Well, of course. That made it like, oh, that gained my respect. That gained my respect.
I hear you. You're
like,
right.
That's like, oh, she didn't do this to some other little white girls that was over here in Colorado, wherever. She did it to some girls from LSU who we thought was some dogs.
Defending champs.
And put them on their knee and spanked them. And so I know, but I didn't expect that.
I don't know how anyone listens to that show. I'm just going to be honest. Skip Bayless just repeated everything that Paul Pierce said, and all he was like, yep. And it's clear that Paul Pierce hasn't watched a second of Caitlin Clark outside of the game the other night up against LSU. You think that's the first time? Like, if we want to really listen to Paul Pierce's logic, which I think is just stupid, you think that's the first time she was on a basketball court going up against someone that didn't look like her and played well like that? It's like, what are we doing? But that's what happens when you're a big name like Paul Pierce, and I guess people care about your opinion, and you get put on a show and you don't put in the work, you say stupid things like that. So not surprising, especially with Paul Pierce's media career, where he thought it was going to be at a good spot, and it just totally has plummeted since then. Let's go to Luka Doncic on the excellence of Caitlin Clark.
It's a woman, Steph Curry. She can shoot it better than me.
I love that. That's so cool, because he's so right. She is the woman version of Steph Curry. And then Luka Doncic says she could shoot it better than me. And I want to see this next year at the All-Star game. Like, who gives a rat's ass about the dunk contest? We already saw Sabrina Ionescu go up against Steph Curry. Let's add Damian Lillard, who just won the three-point contest this past year, and let's add Caitlin Clark and have those four compete up against one another. I think that would be highly rated. Let's go to LeBron James. We just had Drew Joyce III on, the former teammate of LeBron in high school. They're still close friends. Last night, there was this report that Bronny was hitting the transfer portal. So LeBron James, after his game last night, was asked about those reports about potentially his son transferring.
Well, I don't know where it came from, but at the end of the day, Bronny's his own man. He has some tough decisions to make. And when he's ready to make those decisions, he'll let us all know. But as his family, we'll support whatever he does.
It's funny, the timing of this, because yesterday we were talking about the departure of Andy Enfield from USC, and he winds up at SMU, and there's a lot of reports that Eric Musselman is expected to be the next head coach of USC. He's interviewing for the job. I think he did that yesterday, and he's now at Arkansas. So I said, isn't it weird that no one has talked about the future of Bronny? And then after that, Dick Hoops-Weiss, who's a longtime legendary college basketball reporter, but he's not a breaking news guy anymore. He tweets out that he's heard that Bronny's hit the transfer portal, and then hours later, he said something along the lines of, well, I haven't been able to confirm that yet, and then LeBron comments on it last night. Could he maybe go to Duquesne because of the relationship that LeBron has with the new head coach of Duquesne? Well, we tried to get some answers on that. We weren't really successful. But no, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if Bronny hits the transfer portal. But I like that from LeBron. He's saying, it's not my decision. It's my son's decision. And he's weighing his options. And now he has to ultimately make a decision. Quickly, let's go to Joel Embiid on his return from injury last night as they got a victory.
For some reason, this injury was just, it was disappointing. It was depressing. Took me a while to get over it, and I still haven't gotten over it. So just gotta take it day by day. Look at the positive. I'm back, so hopefully every single day try to get better and get back to myself.
You hear that? You have to overcome it physically. You also have to overcome it mentally. I see some people after the great victory last night saying, the Sixers could go be a surprising team in the Eastern Conference to get to the finals. I don't buy it because Embiid's not 100% healthy. They've never been to a conference final, even with Joel Embiid before. Now he's going to have to potentially go through the play-in tournament and then 3 series to get to the finals. I don't see it with Embiid, and that audio is concerning to me.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. New Commanders running back Austin Ekeler going to stop by 20 minutes from now. Always excited when we get to have a little conversation with Austin Ekeler. Always enjoy those chats. I'll get back to the Stefon Diggs trade in just a second, as he's been traded to the Texans, and basically the Buffalo Bills get back a future second-round pick in 2025 that actually comes via the Minnesota Vikings from a previous deal. But I want to just get into a statement from Rashee Rice, who we know, I guess I got to be careful how I say this, allegedly left the scene of an accident, and people in the video were taking guns out of the car, allegedly, and there was alleged drag racing, I guess is the right term, that was going on. Well, Rashee Rice, just of the Kansas City Chiefs, issued a statement, and it was on Instagram, and he said, "Today I met with Dallas Police Department investigators regarding Saturday's accident. I take full responsibility for my part in this matter and will continue to cooperate with the necessary authorities. I sincerely apologize to everyone impacted in Saturday's accident." From everything I read, there was no deaths. There were some injuries, but I don't even know what you could contest here. Like, if you're Rashee Rice, as long as that's you on the video and someone didn't mistake your identity, which I don't think that was the case. I don't have to be careful from a litigious matter and say that everything's allegedly. Assuming that's you, and it's pretty obvious it was him, you were caught red-handed. Now, I don't know the full truth of the story. Why did you feel like you had to leave the scene of the accident? Was there more to this? Probably. But I don't think there's going to be enough here. And especially since other things didn't happen in a tragic way from what we have read and what we've known so far, where there's going to be a big drop-the-hammer punishment on Rashee Rice. And maybe things happen in the next 24, 48, 72 hours that changes that conversation. I can only comment on what we think we know right now. I know the NFL is monitoring this situation, but you know how the NFL usually operates in these types of situations. As long as the public outrage is not severe, usually it's either a slap on the wrist or it's no punishment. Like, could there be a 1 or 2 game suspension? Could there be a fine? Absolutely. But I don't believe this is going to turn into a matter unless the reason why Rashee Rice and the people he were with were leaving ends up being more, and why they fled the scene of an accident, it turns out to be something more. I don't believe that this is going to turn into a massive situation from with what we know right now, where the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have to suspend Rashee Rice indefinitely, or they're going to have to release him and outright release him. It's stupid. Like, you see the video, and with other things that have happened in the NFL and how tragic they were, it's like, what the heck are you thinking? And what are you doing? Why are you even putting yourself in that situation? And why would you leave the scene of the crime, of the accident? So it makes me think, and it makes me infer that something else bigger was trying to get covered up, but trying to prove that and getting to the root of this and knowing all the truth. We probably won't know all the truth. And if there are no deaths, and if the people that were injured are okay, then in all likelihood, and I hate to say it this way, it goes back to being business as normal for the Kansas City Chiefs. And people ask me, like Samter asked me this on Monday. He said, do you think the Chiefs are going to have to get rid of Rashee Rice? And I said, based off what we know right now, probably not. And I don't think that much is going to change in the next week or two, and maybe something does. And, I'm not going to be naive. Things could obviously change. Things could obviously escalate to a different degree where you got to cut bait. But Rashee Rice is a solid football player. Rashee Rice has a lot of potential. And you know this in this league. Regardless of what happens off the field, if there is an avenue where you could survive and an avenue where you could still get back onto the field, a lot of these things, right or wrong, get overlooked. And we've seen, not to downplay what happened here, allegedly, we've seen a lot more serious things go on off the field where players have been given and granted a second, a third, sometimes even a fourth chance. So I don't anticipate there to be much of a punitive action here with Rashee Rice, especially where I think he's understanding that he is going to find a way to skate free here, and he's going to cooperate, he's going to admit his wrong, and that makes me just think that whatever is potentially brewing here and whatever is potentially coming here, he's obviously not afraid of it, and he doesn't think that this is going to spiral into something bigger. So that's the latest on the Rashee Rice situation. Just wanted to read the statement that he released on Instagram, and we'll continue to monitor that if anything else does develop, obviously, in the next few weeks. Okay, the big news of the day, and we'll get to Austin Ekeler coming up in about 15 minutes on this show, but the big news of the day is there was a big trade today in football, and that is Stefon Diggs getting traded to the Houston Texans, along with a 6th-round pick in 2024, a 5th-round pick in 2025, and the Buffalo Bills get back a 2025 2nd-round pick via the Minnesota Vikings. There's two sides of this conversation. For the Texans, they continue to go all in after a breakout season, a super-duper successful season, and they're trying to capitalize now on this window that they have when you have a young quarterback who's not only good, but he's great already. And I don't use that word very easily. And he's already a star. I think he's already a top 5 quarterback in football right now. And you're trying to take advantage now of this window where you don't have to pay the quarterback star quarterback money. And you have him on his rookie deal. So you could go out and get a Danielle Hunter. You could go on out and take on the contract of a Stefon Diggs. You could bring in Joe Mixon. And the Texans, in a division that's going to be good this year, like I think the Jaguars bounce back. The Colts were on the verge of making the playoffs last year, and they didn't even have their quarterback. And you look at Tennessee. Tennessee's been a team this offseason. They've been all in to try to see if they could get a fair evaluation with Will Levis. Like, Will Levis has enough. I don't know if Will Levis is going to be great, but Will Levis has enough. When you look at Tony Pollard, when you look at DeAndre Hopkins, they were able to ink Calvin Ridley to that enormous deal this offseason. They were able to trade for L'Jarius Sneed and sign him to a future contract extension. So that's a good division. And this time last year, we looked at that division, we were like, ugh, it was rubbish. Ugh, that's a bad division. And now that division, it's like, okay, you could have a few playoff teams in that division. But the Texans are the lead dog. And not only are the Texans the lead dog, but the Texans, I think right now, pound for pound, are the 3rd best team in the AFC. And Buffalo, who for a while was in that 3rd spot, where it was Kansas City and Cincinnati jockeying for position, and one year it was Kansas City, the next year it was Cincinnati, then it's back to Kansas City, and that 3rd spot was always Buffalo, where Buffalo's had some close games in the postseason up against Kansas City, couldn't get the job done. We've seen Buffalo in the mix, but Buffalo, they're not dead. Buffalo isn't done. Buffalo just needs to retool. And they elected to get out of business now with Stefon Diggs, even though it's a big-time cap hit. But they knew that Stefon Diggs was declining. And I still think Stefon Diggs, with new life and being in a happier situation for him, he could still be productive. but he doesn't have that many good years of football left. And if he still does have good football years left, it just shows you that they've reached the end of the road in Buffalo. Because there were moments when you look at the Buffalo Bills this year with Stefon Diggs where it was dreadful, where it was really ugly. Like, we got to a point where the last 100-yard receiving game for Stefon Diggs was October 15th, and his last touchdown was November 25th or November 26th. I was at that game. It was up against the Philadelphia Eagles. So you got to a point where you knew that Stefon Diggs was good, but it wasn't working anymore with Josh Allen, and it wasn't working anymore in Buffalo, and there is a story that we haven't been told yet. But now this AFC is, I don't want to say fully reshaped, but this AFC is now in a spot where there is a new third team. And I look at Super Bowl contenders. I'm not someone that will sit here and give a plethora of Super Bowl contenders. If you are not a top 3 team in the AFC, if you're not a top 3 team in the NFC, I don't consider you a Super Bowl contender. Now, I'm understanding that a 4th seed or a wild card team can get hot and they could go win a Super Bowl and they could go play in a Super Bowl. But in my short list of Super Bowl contenders this year, I break it down 3 teams in the AFC and 3 teams in the NFC. And without having the draft, without having some other potential big trades go down, because the NFL is a 365-day-year sport now, when we sit here on the 3rd day of April in the year of 2024, and you ask me, Zach, how many Super Bowl contenders are there in the AFC? And if I'm only limiting my list to 3, well, clearly it's the Kansas City Chiefs. They're the best team in the NFL. They're the team to beat. They're the Kings. They're the team that everyone is trying to catch. And they've been vulnerable the last 2 years, which is crazy. And they still won back-to-back championships. And that was with Philadelphia and the 49ers, both in Super Bowls, both with the lead, and still, you weren't able to find a way to take them down and issue that kill shot. So Kansas City's still a team to beat. But the one team that has actually had success up against Kansas City has been the Cincinnati Bengals. And the one problem with the Bengals is that they just can't find a way to keep Joe Burrow healthy. And we've seen now 4 years when Burrow's on the field, AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. But when he's not, they miss the playoffs. And you realize, okay, this team could be good as long as they could keep the quarterback healthy. Be great if they keep the quarterback healthy. So it's Kansas City 1, it's Cincinnati 2, and then I think it's a Texans 3. And if you're going to argue that, okay, then who's the team that you're arguing? It's no one else in the AFC West. You can't make the case for the Chargers right now. You can't make the case for, sorry, Stu, the Raiders or the Broncos. Like, that's just obvious. In the AFC South, we thought the Jaguars could be a team that had a Super Bowl window. Maybe they still do, but they took a step back this past year. It's not Buffalo because now they're retooling. It's not the Dolphins because they can't win a big game. You know, in the AFC North, I can't trust Lamar Jackson in a big game right now. Like, they just had a situation where it was a spot where they were the 1 seed in the AFC, and they weren't able to get the job done. You know, they had 2 home games, and they played an okay first half, and they got it together in the second half, and they were able to beat the Texans, who were a young, up-and-coming team. And then, in an AFC championship game, you didn't see that offense show up. So I look around the AFC, I think the Texans now are the 3rd best team in the AFC. And maybe some people argue the Jets, but the Jets are a Mike Williams injury and a Teron Smith injury away from being in the same spot that they were a year ago without a number 2 wide receiver and without a left tackle. Now, I get it. You get Aaron Rodgers back. Rodgers is coming off the Achilles, but that doesn't mean, even if I think Rodgers could win comeback player of the year next year, that you're going to see Aaron Rodgers being the 3rd best team in the AFC. I can't even guarantee that they're going to win the division. Because how could I easily put the Jets right now in front of the Dolphins? And I'm not going to dismiss the Buffalo Bills yet with Josh Allen. So I think those are the 3 best teams today in the AFC. It's the Chiefs, it's the Bengals, and then it's the Houston Texans. That, to me, are the 3 best teams in the AFC. So You look at this deal today, good move by Houston, and for Buffalo, it was time. And I see people saying in the YouTube chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, that now Hot Take Hickey is right. Because Ryan Hickey, who was my old producer, and I love Hickey. He's like a brother. But Hickey was saying that the Bills should trade Josh Allen because their window is over. They should trade him to the Chicago Bears, and they should bring in Caleb Williams. That, to me, is still not a right take. Yeah, you got to get rid of people, but I want the established quarterback. Even though we think Caleb Williams can be this great transcendent quarterback, we thought the same thing about Trevor Lawrence. And now people are questioning Trevor Lawrence. You have the established guy. And also the dead cap, it would have never made sense to have traded Josh Allen. It just would have hampered that organization even more. And I don't think the Bills are that far off from being able to retool. But you need a year where it may not be as great as it's been the other years. And you have a young tight end in Dalton Kincaid. You have James Cook, who's a good young up-and-coming running back. And now you could be aggressive in the draft and go trade up and get a number one wide receiver. So I understand Hickey's taking his bows today, and people are trying to praise Hickey because he was like, oh, the Bills should trade Josh Allen to the Bears and they should get Caleb Williams. I still disagree with that. And yeah, they had to move on. We knew there were going to be some casualties this offseason. But the relationship deteriorated between Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs, and it's better to move on now than a year from now where you wouldn't have got nearly as much because you saw in the second half of the season, Stefon Diggs didn't live up to what his contract was, and that relationship just met a dead end, and it was time to move on. So it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Talking about new homes, Austin Ekeler is one of my favorites. He has a new home, saying goodbye to the Chargers in free agency and joining the Washington Commanders. We'll talk to the new running back of the Washington Commanders, Austin Ekeler, when we return in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. Always enjoy when my next guest is able to join us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio, and he has a new team, a new home. That's with the Washington Commanders. Austin Ekeler, kind enough to join us once again. Austin, appreciate the time. Thanks so much. Congratulations. How you been?
I've been great, man. Thanks for having me back on, and looking forward to my new opportunity out here on the East Coast.
But what stood out to you about this opportunity with the Commanders? Why the Commanders?
Yeah, it really comes down to a few things. When you're going through free agency, really, okay, who has the most interest and why? There's a few teams that were interested. Some of them had some scenarios where it was like, okay, that's probably not going to be the best fit for Austin as far as, hey, they already have someone who's really the dominant starter in that scenario. And then also, hey, like, where would Austin fit in as far as the ecosystem of the offense, what kind of offense they have? And when Washington, was in the mix of there, they had kind of a tandem situation with their backs, last year, and they parted ways with one of them, Brian Robinson, coming off of a pretty solid year as well. But hey, like, there's an opportunity to go out there, continue that tandem type backfield, and then also a new coaching staff coming in as well. So new opportunity to really go establish yourself in a new culture, hopefully that's looking forward and in a backfield where, hey, you can get some playing time and also make an impact and help the team win games.
We know Dan Quinn is not new to this league. He's been a head coach before. The last few seasons, he's been the defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. I know that you guys are allowed to get together now and start your season a little bit earlier than other teams because of having a new coach in place. What have been the early impressions so far, you being in the league, playing for a few head coaches of Dan Quinn so far?
Yeah, well, I've actually never been on a different team, but when the first time I walked in, it was the entire coaching staff in a boom box of music, and they were all getting hype and cheering at like 6:30 in the morning. So you could say that they're trying to bring some energy, and they are bringing some energy, and it's been felt for the first couple of days that we've been out here. So looking forward to seeing how that plays out as we get going through here OTAs. But it's a good start so far.
How do you think you fit in to this Cliff Kingsbury offense? Like, what do you think you could still bring to the Commanders?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think we do have a coordinator that, hey, is going to put us in the best position. That's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to put your guys and their talents in the best position to make plays. And so what does that mean? Well, for me, for instance, my best time is usually around the red zone area. I score a lot of touchdowns, in the screen game. As far as the run game, off tackle, running off the edge, that's been my bread and butter for a while now. And so it just comes down to, hey, how do you utilize the team and the talent that we have? And so I'm hoping that he's going to be doing the same, looking at all of our players, put us in positions, with different packages, moving guys around. We got some new guys in on the offense. So that's what it comes down to in this league. It's not a cookie cutter league where, hey, this is my offense, this is what we're going to run. If you do that, you're probably going to get in trouble unless you have the perfect offense, which no offense is perfect, and you have injuries and things like that. So you have to be able to adjust on the fly. So it's hard to tell, hey, preseason, before we even played a snap, how we're going to do. I think it comes down to how well do you adjust throughout the season. So
we always know you have a big chip on your shoulder, knowing your background and knowing your story. Does the doubters, do they still fuel you? Because, after last season, people are going to say just the nature of the position, Austin Ekeler starting to decline. Does that still motivate you, or are you just kind of numb to it at this point?
No, I've never really supported any of the doubters' energy. I have enough supporters out there that I feed off of. Me being my number one supporter was just most important. And, it was a decision for me. It's like, okay, hey,
that's always the best supporter, by the way.
Hey, if you lose that supporter, it's time to do something else. So let me tell you that right now. But yeah, you're always going to have the backlash. It's a sports, man. You got to have some thick skin to be in this, especially at the professional level, because you step wrong one time and everyone's on your head on social media with no repercussions, right? They can say whatever the heck they want to say, and trust me, they do. And it goes both ways. You're going to get a lot of support and love if you're doing well, but then the opposite the other way. But as an athlete, you stay true to yourself, true to who you are, true to your core values. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to continue to put myself in a position to try to be the best I can possibly be, make the biggest impact that I can. And yeah, you're going to have some up and down years. You try to have more up years than down years, but you can't let it get to you if, you have a little slip up or mishap.
I know the business of the NFL is a little bit bizarre now, knowing that the Commanders in all likelihood are going to take a quarterback number 2 overall in this draft, and just trying to figure out who that guy's going to be and all the speculation that occurs with that.
You're asking if it's bizarre?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty normal for situations where, teams are, putting themselves in a position where, hey, we didn't have the best year. We just traded away the guy that played quarterback for us. So I think that's something that you've seen, play out several times in the NFL where teams are positioned to take in a quarterback. We brought in some other quarterbacks too to compete for that position as well. And, in the NFL, money does talk. So if you're a first round pick, especially top 2, you're probably going to have some priority and get a few more reps, but it's still going to be an open opportunity to see who the best guy in that room is. And look, the quarterback position is something that has continued to evolve as far as the importance and, being able to protect these guys. And, now they're getting paid, crazy amounts. Well, they've always got paid crazy amounts, but it comes down to, hey, look, the reason they're getting paid that much is because you're probably going to have a decent one to at least make a run into the playoffs if you're going to have a chance. So that's where we're at right now. I saw, Justin Herbert as a rookie and what we were able to do. I saw, CJ Stroud last year take his team to the playoffs. So whoever's in that position, whether it's a rookie or whether these other guys, I'm looking forward to being in that backfield with them and making plays and doing our best to make a run.
Since you've done this before, what do you think it's important for whoever that rookie quarterback is that comes in the 2nd overall pick of the draft to really understand and really get when you're talking about going from a college kid to then being pretty much a face of a franchise and a big voice in that locker room early on?
Yeah, the voice I think comes and goes. It depends on who it is. If you have the voice coming in and you use it, absolutely, that's invited. But I think a lot of these guys, come into the NFL locker room, or the people that I've been around as far as rookies, and it takes a while for people to kind of get out of their shell just because it's such a big pressure put on you as an organization. It's like, hey, you are the face now. And you're like, whoa, you're around some of these guys that are 10 years older than you, have kids and a 401k, maybe these athletes do now with the NIL money. Especially the quarterback. But, it comes and goes with who it is. Who are you? What's your personality? But what has to happen is you have to totally buy into, hey, this is your offense. You have to lead us out there. It doesn't mean, you're going to be, the raw guy, but you definitely got to know, hey, get us lined up, know what you got as far as your responsibilities, just like all of us do. It's no different from any other position, but quarterback position, you have the ball in your hands every single time. So it's going to be really obvious if you don't know, or if you're not bought into the scheme and all of that. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a good teammate and someone who's ready just to immerse themselves in the playbook.
Maybe it's just because it's recent, but we've seen, Saquon go over to the Eagles this year, and that's going to be a tough combination with Jalen Hurts and Saquon. Lamar Jackson gets Derrick Henry. That's going to be a matchup nightmare for defenses. I think of your strengths and then Brian's strengths as well, running the football too and catching the football. I kind of think Jaden Daniels would be fun and would bring an explosive feel if that's the pick with the 2nd overall pick with the Commanders. What do you think about that?
Look, I haven't looked at any of these quarterbacks out here, so whoever you say, regardless, I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. Like I said, I care They come in, they're a good teammate, and then they immerse themselves in the playbook in the locker room. And so that'll be my job as a vet. It'll be my job to continue to encourage these guys and help them stay in the right position and go in the right direction. So whoever it is, I invite it.
You get the business side of this. You've been very outspoken and honest about the running back position and where it's at right now. I'm just curious, were you surprised how many guys got deals, even though they're not the numbers that you guys probably want? And, it should be more. Were you surprised how quickly a lot of these running backs did go off the board? Because I kind of thought, if I'm just being honest with you, Austin Ekeler, it was going to be a slow, long, patient game, and I was surprised how quickly these guys did go off the board.
Yeah, the thing that I'm advocating for is just giving guys an opportunity to get their free agent deal when they're a free agent, when they're on the last year. It's not, look, the numbers are what they are. Hey, you're going to get paid based off the market. There's a lot of timing that plays itself into it. There's a lot of, hey, how much of an impact did you have? So I'm not saying, our numbers should be higher. Would I like them to be 100%, but should they be? I think there's a lot of factors that we can't necessarily control as running backs that play into that. But what I would like to see different is the franchise tag. I think you come off, Josh Jacobs is the example I'll never forget. Comes off of his best year ever, 1,600 rushing yards, leads the NFL in rushing, has a bunch of touchdowns as well. And then you tag him with the franchise tag. It doesn't give him an opportunity to go and get in the free market like he just did. And so you put him in an artificial number. You don't get to negotiate it, and it's only a 1-year deal. So if you go out there and something catastrophic happens, either good or bad, good, they can come and franchise you again. You don't get back on the market. Or if it's something bad happens, like now you don't have any, longevity as far as that your career there with that team. And so that's what I really advocate for. It's not just running backs. It's just being able to get on the market. If you do a really good job at your job, you crush it, you just finish your contract year, boom, what do you want? You want an opportunity to go see who has interest in you. So that's what I'm an advocate of. I really hate the franchise tag.
Do you think, though, that's the new norm? Because you see a guy like Saquon, I know they put some incentives in there. You saw Josh Jacobs put some incentives, and they played that year on the franchise tag in all things considered, and then it was the next year where they go cash it and get what they could have got. Do you think that's going to continue to be a trend here moving forward?
I hope not. I don't even want to put that type of energy that it's going to be. I really hope not. I really hope, we're allowing those guys, just like, we see in so many other scenarios where, hey, you're a free agent. Hey, go ahead and go out there and get your deal. And so I hope we see more of that.
Yeah, you're always a fun conversation, and this is why I like getting you on the show. This could be a little bit of a bizarre question, but I'm sure you've thought about it because you're still focused on being a football player. What do you plan to do once you do retire? Because I'm very curious what the future is for Austin Ekeler after football, because I think you're going to be a star in whatever you do.
Yeah, I guess the shine of my life is football. That's the thing that people see the most right now when they think of Austin Ekeler. They think of probably fantasies or sports betting or something like that. And so there's a lot of unseen things that I've been developing as well. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. Like, that is what I went to school for. I went to school for business. Didn't even know I was going to be in the NFL until my junior year. I was like, hey, my coach was like, hey, you have an opportunity to go play. I was like, oh, really? I should probably look into that. And so my first love was being in the business world and really building. And so that's what I've been doing, alongside my football career. I've been building businesses. I have a couple teams that I work with now, building an app called Experience, building a website called Pro Athlete Ventures. I have my foundation as well. I have a couple shows, one right now, one with Yahoo called Ekeler's Edge. And so really, I just want to continue to make an impact. That is my goal. So I feel like I'm doing that now. So what am I going to do after football? The same thing I'm doing now. Try to make as big of an impact in the society as I possibly can. And what I mean by that is put resources into the community or give resources out there that people can utilize to make what seems like their life in a better situation than it is right now. Whether that's monetarily, educational, whether that's physically, because I do weight rooms with my foundation. And so all aspects of impact, that's where I'm at.
Wrapping up with Austin Ekeler, I'm just curious with how plugged in you are. I know this doesn't have to do anything with the Commanders, but when you saw the news today that Stefon Diggs got traded to the Texans, how'd you kind of process that one?
I randomly saw that, and I was like, is that real? Because there's some memes out there. The meme page, you got to be careful. Sometimes you get some info, you're like, I don't know if that's real. But, yeah, I don't know. It's some things that you can't hear or see that are happening in the front office or the relationship with the player and the team. And, if they're not aligned, they have that option. And, in some instances, it's, hey, both of the people, both sides wanted to make a change. And whatever the situation is, it happened. So, hey, CJ Stroud got himself another weapon out there. So good for him.
I know that you're excited for this new opportunity, and I'm sure that you thought that this could definitely be an option that you'd be leaving the Chargers. I think I said that to you at the Super Bowl, that I didn't expect that they were going to bring you back with the new regime coming on in. Is it like bittersweet? How do you kind of look at the transitional process of leaving a place that you called home and now starting this new journey somewhere else?
Yeah, I think bittersweet is a good thing, is a good descriptive word for it. Just because man, like that was where I started. That's where I've been for the last 7 years. That's who really helped me get my start, coming up as an undrafted free agent and really making my way in the NFL. But also I think there's the sweet side of it where it's like, look, I am, very forward looking. And for me, this looks like another opportunity to be in a new market, be in a new environment, to be able to be in a place where, hey, you got to recompete, and you got to adapt, with a new set of coaches, new set of, players. So I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to go out there and adapt and compete, because I think that helps, in any opportunity that you can find that in your life. I think it really helps you become a better version of yourself because you've been through a little bit more. And this is a new wrinkle for me where I'm going to have to move my life from one coast to the other, move my family and everyone out here. And just as a man, I think the more you can do that and adapt, and the quicker you can do that and have those stories and those experiences, I think the more well-rounded you'll be and more prepared for, the future of life and educating the people around you as well.
Now, I know that none of this is foreign, but there's still a human side of it. To see this era, though, end, Keenan Allen now on the Bears, Mike Williams getting his Taylor ham with the Jets, and now you with the Commanders. Do you guys kind of, interact, even though still that chapter of being teammates together with the Chargers? Have you guys had conversations? Just wondering.
No, we haven't had a conversation, but I do have one of my teammates that I came in with, Mike Davis. He was also so the last of the 17 class, that was Mike Williams, me, and Michael Davis. Michael Davis and I were both undrafted, and Michael Davis is now here with me with the Commanders. So there's still the legacy of us two lives on, beyond the Chargers. But yeah, it's going to be interesting watching that whole team with all the new faces, new coaching. I know they get a new practice facility too. I'm a little jealous of that, and they're moving up into the brand new thing up in El Segundo there. So I'm happy for them. I really am. I'm really happy. I really respect the organization and how they helped me get my start, and I'm hoping the best for them unless we play them. And so I'll be watching from afar. Absolutely.
Last thing I'll ask you, for so many years, the culture with Daniel Snyder running the team was so negative. Now a new owner, Josh Harris. I don't know if you've had any interactions, and I know it's only been a few days since you've been really allowed to get into the facility, but how about the culture? Do you sense that this is a positive place to be in now?
Yeah, from my experience, it has been so far. And I've talked to some of the, the players that have been around, and, I've just heard stories, and, we don't need to get into the weeds on that in here, but it seems like there's a good energy that is going in a forward direction, which is great. And I hope I can help, add some of that to this. I know we have some other veterans that we brought in as well that I know are doing the same. So look, I don't know what's been, here. All I know is now, and right now is an opportunity to make this, better than it was in the past. And so I'm going to try to, like I said, to contribute to that. And hopefully we can get this reputation for this team, not only on the field, but in the community in the right direction.
Well, good luck. We appreciate the time as always. Always enjoy our conversations with you.
Likewise, my friend. Likewise. Looking forward to the next time.
You got it. We'll definitely do that. There he is, Austin Ekeler, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio, getting ready to embark on his new journey with the Washington Commanders. All righty, we'll take a timeout. When we come on back, saw a little Wemby versus Nikola Jokic last night. Who's the biggest draw in the NBA right now? If I say you could go see anyone in the NBA, give you a free ticket, you could go see any player, who would that player be? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. You could always interact with the show on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. And we're streaming live, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Update time. Here he is, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, the Bills are already looking a lot different, and the makeover continued today as they sent Stefon Diggs to the Texans, along with a 6th-round pick this year and a 5th-rounder next year. And in return, they will get the Vikings 2nd-round pick in 2025. Chiefs receiver Rashee Rice issued a statement saying he's met with Dallas police regarding the accident over the weekend that he was a part of, and that he takes full responsibility for his role in it and will continue to cooperate with them. Hornets coach Steve Clifford is stepping down after the season. He was hoping to remain in an advisory role. LSU's Angel Reese told Vogue magazine she will enter the WNBA draft. Lots of day baseball today, and right now in Oakland, bottom of the fourth, it's the Red Sox on top of the A's by a score of 1-0. The Yankees have jumped in front of the Diamondbacks 2-1 on a home run by Aaron Judge, his first. They now go to the fifth in Arizona. Top two, it's Cleveland with a 3-0 lead over Seattle. San Diego out to an early 1-0 start over the Cardinals in the bottom half of the second. Finals from earlier today, it was Ryan Jeffers' 3-run homer that put the Twins ahead for good. They beat the Brewers 7-3, first loss for Milwaukee, while the Marlins are 0-7, falling to the Angels 10-2. Rangers a 4-1 winner in Tampa. I'm Rich Ackerman.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Last night, Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets got a victory over Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs by a final score of 110-105. But you look at the stat line of Wemby, this is just flat out ridiculous. He almost had a triple-double in the game last night. And when you think of a triple-double, it's points, it's rebounds, and it's assists. He almost had a triple-double with points, rebounds, and then blocks. And he wasn't that far off on the assists either. So he could have had a quadruple-double last night. He had 23 points in the game. He had 15 rebounds. He had 9 blocks and 8 assists. That's just flat-out ridiculous. And I know that nothing with Wemby really surprises you anymore, but I'm so happy about where the hype was with Victor Wembanyama, in that early on you're seeing the signs that Wembanyama is definitely worth it, and Wembanyama is going to be a future star. And I was talking, not to a source or not to anyone in the NBA, but I was having a conversation over the weekend, and people were talking about just how one of one Victor Wembanyama is, and someone said, oh, he needs to put on more weight, though. And I remember I had a conversation with him, and this was at the NBA draft, and I'm like, he's not going to do that. I think he said something at the draft along the lines of people say, oh, I got to bulk up. And he said that he tells people, oh, no, it's more like you got to skinny up or skinny down or something like that. So Wembanyama is not going to add on a lot more weight. And to see the way that he not only handles the basketball and the range that he has on the court and the immediate impact, here's the most impressive part. Because it's one thing to be that tall, and we've seen other tall players before. Like you look at the growth of Zach Edey. Obviously, Taco Fall did not live up to what people thought he could be when you just look at him. When you see a guy who is listed at 7'4", and I've been in the same room as Victor Wembanyama, I think he's taller than 7'4", quite frankly. But to see the way he moves and how quickly he moves and how he has the handles of a guard at times in a big's body, when that team just gets more talent and that team in 3-4 years from now, as long as he can stay healthy and the other guys that they're going to add, man, they're going to be an absolute force. Because I don't know how you stop this guy. And he's just scratching the surface right now. Like, I get it. He didn't shoot the ball well last night. He was 9 of 29. He was 2 of 11 from 3. But to still put on a stat sheet that has 23 points, 15 rebounds, 9 blocks, and 8 assists, it's one of the biggest draws. It is. Like, the NBA regular season does not give us much to talk about. The NBA regular season is one of the biggest just shams in sports because of the fact that you never know who's going to play. So many people dog it in the regular season. You have this fugazi play-in tournament where the only reason why the play-in tournament has actually had success is because you've had so many stars not be top 6 seeds and B7, B8, B9, B10, and there's a reason. There's a reason to watch it. And a lot of times it's been the Western Conference. It's been LeBron. It's been Steph Curry. But in the East, it's not, and this year be different But there's some times you see the difference when you have the star power in the West compared to the East when you're in those playing tournaments. And it's like, oh, do we really need to care about that? So the stars are what sells. That's the no surprise. And let's also not forget, even though he got blocked 4 times last night by Victor Wembanyama, what Nikola Jokic did last night was also just as equally as sensational. 42 points and 16 rebounds. The shocking part was that Nikola Jokic only had 6 assists. But that's the dilemma with Nikola Jokic. Either let him go get his, and he could go pop off for 42 points, or you try to limit his scoring. And when you limit his scoring, then he'll go on out and put up nights of 13, 14 assists. But let's have a bigger conversation about this, because I want to compile a list here of who's the biggest draw in the NBA right now. Who are the top 5 names? I say to you, Zach, or I say to you guys, I'm Zach Gelb. I'm going to give you a free ticket. You go see anyone you want right now. So a year or 2 ago, I would have easily have said Giannis Antetokounmpo. Right? He would definitely be on that list. He's still the second best player in the sport because Nikola Jokic is 1. I have to give an honorable mention now to Nikola Jokic, because as a fan, there's still 5 players, whether they are newer or whether they've been established, and it's just still the aura of seeing them for what they've done, that I'd rather see over Giannis Antetokounmpo. So Giannis Antetokounmpo would be my 6, and he's the honorable mention. In at number 5, it's Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards, the dunk he threw down last night, it's every night. To see the way that guy can basically jump out of his shoes and dunk the basketball in other grown men's faces is just crazy. And that team has had a massive turnaround. And when he was coming out of college, it was always stupid. People questioned his love for the game and things like that. That dude is a hooper. That dude is a baller. And that dude is so entertaining. He has a great personality. That's another thing. I love Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis doesn't have the greatest personality. There's an innocence to Giannis Antetokounmpo. But you've seen Anthony Edwards be in a movie. You've seen Anthony Edwards off the court, be a big personality. There's something about a star where the play on the court is great, and then off the court, they are an enormous attraction as well. Nikola Jokic is also on this list. I'll get to him in just a second. He doesn't play into the off-the-court stuff. The only thing we know about Nikola Jokic is after the championship, he wanted to race home to get to his horses and go dance in some club that we saw. So Anthony Edwards, star on the court and star off the court. In at number 4, it's still LeBron. We're talking about the second greatest basketball player of all time. I don't care what year in the league LeBron James is in. I don't care that he's almost 40 years old. Whenever you get to see LeBron James play, whether you like him or not, there is an appreciation to what he's able to do at an elite level for 20 years and the durability that does come with it. So LeBron is for me in at number 4. 3, it's Nikola Jokic. He has won 2 MVPs. Could win a third one after this year. We'll see who it goes to. It's a little vague on who's going to get the MVP this year. Last year gets the finals MVP. He gets the world championship. And the part about Nikola Jokic that I just love is you don't know how to stop him. And we talk about a triple-double threat. And I know the triple-double is now undervalued from what it was because a lot of people think it's stat padding and watering down. But he's a true just triple-double savant, where sometimes guys can fill up a stat sheet and you're not really impressed by it. But for Nikola Jokic, with how many different levels he can impact the game, and I think his defense is underrated, yeah, that's a guy, no crap, that his stats don't even tell the entire story of how dominant he is. And the stats are very impressive. Now, 1 and 2, I think you could guess the name. I'm still going Victor Wembanyama 2. And there is that curious nature of never seeing him live in person on the basketball court, only being able to see him on TV. And we tell you how, right, the points, the rebounds, the blocks, the assists, the steals, and how great of a defensive player he is. Now, this guy could win Defensive Player of the Year and also Rookie of the Year in this first season for him in the NBA. So I put him at 2, but it was close. I still can't not put Steph Curry at 1 because Steph Curry changed the game. Steph Curry is not the biggest dude. but just the range on Steph Curry. Like, I saw the half-court shot competition last night was fun, and just to still see the video game-like presence that he has, where I wouldn't even take some shots that he takes in video games, and he makes them in real life. So I think those are the biggest draws right now in the NBA. If I could go see anyone, Giannis, honorable mention at 6, Anthony Edwards in at 5, LeBron 4, Nikola Jokic 3, Victor Wembanyama 2, and Steph Curry in at 1.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
And away we go, hour number 3 of our radio program, live in Phoenix, Arizona. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. We're broadcasting to you today live from Arizona Sports. Tomorrow and Friday, we'll be in a much bigger set on Radio Row, brought to you by our friends at Westwood One Sports. We'll have a bunch of guests stopping by the next 2 days to get you set for the men's Final Four that does feature the UConn Huskies going up against the Alabama Crimson Tide. And then also on the other side, you got the big fellas with Zach Edey of Purdue going up against DJ Burns. But today we are basically in like a little production closet since we had to get on out here a day earlier because there was no great flight. So Samter and I did make it out to Arizona, and we did have to fight through some terrible weather. Samter was trying to be a practical joker at pretty much, I don't know, it was like 6:30, 7 in the morning when we're getting on this plane. And I've been up since 4 a.m. Eastern time. So when the show ends in about 55 minutes or so, I'm going to say we're going to eat our first full meal of the day. Like I had a protein bar when I landed on the plane. I had some Sun Chips, and I also had some pretzels that they gave out, or maybe it was some almonds. I don't even remember. And I did have a ginger ale. I don't know why. Whenever I get on a plane, I have a craving for a ginger ale. But Samter at 6:30 in the morning, and we did not plan this. We knew we were going to be on the same flight. But Samter is in the seat in front of me, and I usually don't like a window seat. I prefer an aisle, but I thought, okay, this is a 4.5, 5-hour flight. It's early in the morning. I'd rather have the window seat to kind of lean on the window, put my neck pillow on, and go to sleep. So Samter is in the window seat right in front of me. Samter had a little bit of a brain fart. He thought he had an aisle seat, and then some guy walked up to him and was like, hey, you're in my seat. So Samter moves over to the window seat, and he looks at me, and he goes, I am going to lean my seat all the way back, which would not be nice because Samter, how tall are you exactly, would you say?
6'3".
So Samter is 6'3", please. See, I'm so concerned because you know why that happened there, Stu, right? Because I was concerned about barely hearing Samter's audio there because we have one microphone here in this little closet of a studio. So Samter could have said anything, and I wasn't really listening.
7'2".
And he says he's 6'3", and I'm like, oh, I could barely hear Samter. We don't have the audio. So, see, now I'm in a difficult spot. Because this is what happens when Samter is a jokester and he's a prankster. Now I'm in the position, Stu, to guess Samter's height. And I know that Samter is going to be annoyed with any number that I throw out there.
It's like guessing a woman's weight.
You got to get closer to the microphone here. You know, we'll get close to one another, all right?
This is too close. It's the
Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
Just the two of us, you and I. No, it's like
Lord help me, get me out of this room.
It's like guessing a woman's age or weight. Can't. There's no right answer. You're either too low, too high. Even if you get it right on, they're like, oh. So you trying to guess my height is going to be very interesting.
So since you said 6'3", and that's just a complete lie, do I then just go offensive here and be like, oh, you're 3'3", which clearly you're not? But does that kind of make me avoid having to answer this question? Can I dodge this question by charming people with my humor, maybe?
No.
6'3" is way closer to my actual height than 3'3" is. So
I don't know about that.
See, now that was mean. On that note, I back away.
I'm going to say, Samter, stand up for a second. All righty.
Zach, you're taller than me, almost sitting down.
Yeah, that is true. That's kind of sad. I'm going to say Samter 5'5"?
Close.
5'4"?
Closer.
So you think you're 5'6"?
No. Boy.
Oh, okay. 5'3"?
I am 5'2" and 3/4.
What are you, 3?
Yeah,
5'2" and
those
3/4.
Those 3/4 mean everything for someone my height.
Okay, so
on my dating profiles before I met my wife,
yes,
I was 5'3".
So you know how I wait? You said what? 5'2" and 3/4?
5'2" and 3/4, but dating profile.
Okay,
5'3".
so 5'2" and 3/4. You know what this means? He's 5'1". That's what it means. Because whenever you got to go 5'2" and 3/4, I think that number is just embellished a little bit. So. Excalibur in the YouTube chat says 5'9". Look at that. What do you got? Orthotics in those shoes?
5'9", baby. I love it.
So anyway, I am 6'4", and that's a legit 6'4". I've never had to lie about my height. Like sometimes on these dating apps, when I go out, people will say, "You're like the first guy that actually was true about his height and didn't lie," because a lot of people say they're 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and they're actually not. I am a true 6'4". So the width of the seat is no problem, but the kind of length of the seat could be an issue at times. Now, my knees were like not fully pressed up on the seat, but they were pretty close. Like I did not have a lot of room. So if Samter, who was threatening to move back his seat, if he was going to move back his seat, he would have just been a jerk. Because Samter didn't need to move back his seat at all. He had all the room in the world. So Samter goes, take a picture. And I then flipped Samter the bird. Because I was not thrilled with this threat of him trying to move back the seat. But little did Samter know, and this is where it could have been funny and also could have been very gross. I've never told Samter that I get motion sick. And Samter's sitting right in front of me. And because of how much rain and the wind, and a lot of people didn't even think we were going to take off, that was going on, the first hour of the flight was some of the worst turbulence I've ever experienced. And I tried to sleep through it, but at one moment, since I get motion sick, I grabbed the barf bag, let's just say. And I thought I was going to barf. And I was like, I really hope if I do have to barf that it goes in the bag. Because not that this would have been right if it was some random person, but I did have a heightened awareness because it's someone I consider a friend and a coworker in Michael Samter that was sitting in front of me, even though you were being a little bit of a jackass and a bully, let me just say, when the plane was starting to take off. Now, thankfully, I did some deep breathing. I did some J.J. McCarthy meditation, and I did not barf on the plane because that would have just been absolutely terrible to deal with. But it was nice. No middle seat. No one was sitting in the middle of next to you, and no one was sitting in the middle next to me. So it ended up being an okay flight, all things considered. But you could see the photo of me flipping the bird to Samter as he's threatening to lean that seat and lean that baby all the way back on the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB, and also on Instagram, where Samter was straight flexing, at Zach Gelb as well.
I will say one thing. Zach, you may or may not have fallen asleep at some point.
Oh, did you take a picture?
No.
Okay.
But while you were asleep,
Was I snoring?
No, you weren't actually. You were very quiet. You were very peaceful.
Did you give me a wet willy?
I didn't. But I may or may not have moved my seat back while you were sleeping to see if it would wake you up. And it did not. Had I actually moved my seat backwards, which I'm not saying I did or did not, but if I did, it didn't wake you up. So very impressed.
Okay, that's fine. That was my biggest fear, actually. Not that I think I sleep when I sleep, I do anything crazy, but I did not want an unflattering photo of like my mouth wide open when I'm knocked out, only getting like 3 hours of sleep last night to go on the internet. So that was the one thing I didn't want, and I thought Samter, I was gonna wake up and I was gonna get just bombarded with text message after text message. Close your mouth when you sleep. You look like an idiot. What are you doing on that plane? So we had a good time getting out here to Phoenix. Anyway, when I was on the plane, I saw this list. And it was a list from actually former NFL defensive back Devin McCourty. And what Devin McCourty did, and this was it was along with Tony Dungy, they picked the head coaches, active head coaches in the NFL that you pick to win a game right now. So Tony Dungy's picks were Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, DeMeco Ryans, Doug Peterson, Todd Bowles, and Devin McCourty's picks were Sean McVay, Mike Tomlin, Kyle Shanahan, Dan Campbell, and Mike McDaniel. So Stu, who looks like Mike McDaniel, do me a favor, cue me up a little NFL music. We're going to try to do this rapid fire here. We will do 4 picks each, and we will give you the coaches that we trust right now that are active coaches to win a game right now. I will start first, and I will take Andy Reid. That's a pretty easy one. Doesn't need an explanation. Stu, I'll let you go next.
All right, that's interesting. I will take John Harbaugh. I like him a lot. I think he's a good coach. He's won a Super Bowl. I take Harbaugh as my number 2. John Harbaugh, not Jim.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, you need to clarify which Harbaugh. Samter, what do you got here? You give me 2 picks here because it's a snake draft, so we'll give you 2 picks.
All right, so I'm going to go with who they actually picked with the number 2 pick. He's been to a Super Bowl. Sean McVay will be my pick.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually going to waffle between him and John Harbaugh, so I'm glad Stu took him. So I'm going Sean McVay, number 3. And I really want to take Kyle Shanahan, but he's had too many flops in big games. So I'm going to go with Dan Campbell. What I saw from him this playoff. Now, granted, he had a choke job also against the 49ers, but
it's the first choke job, though.
Yeah, I'm going to go Dan Campbell. So Sean McVay, then Dan Campbell.
All righty, so far I take Andy Reid. Stu takes John Harbaugh. And then Samter double dips on Sean McVay and Dan Campbell. Stuart?
So Samter did not take the person I was considering taking before I took John Harbaugh. It's Mike Tomlin. I know he hasn't had a lot of success of late, but I feel like a lot of that's because he's either had an old Ben Roethlisberger or no quarterback at all. So I think with maybe a quarterback in Russell Wilson, we'll see. I trust him more than any of the coaches remaining.
So I think this coach at times is overrated because people talk about him like he is this all-time great coach and he's reinvented the game of football. But at least he's in the big games. He doesn't do well in the big games, but at least he gets there. And a lot of these other guys don't get to the big game. And the name of the question is head coach you'd pick to win a game right now. It doesn't say win the Super Bowl. So this guy wins a lot of games. I will go with Kyle Shanahan. So I will take him off the board. I think that's a good value pick right there. So Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan for me. Then Stu has John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin. Samter has Sean McVay and Dan Campbell. So I'm up next. And you know who I'm going to take here? Guys have been in the NFL for a while. But when he was last in the league, he was a coach that in 4 years went to 3 NFC championship games and a Super Bowl. I am going to take Jim Harbaugh. Stu, next up.
So this next pick may be surprising, and I don't think what he has done since coming back to the NFL has been good this past year, but he does have a Super Bowl. I think if he has the right quarterback and the right players around him, he could win a big game. I will go Sean Payton for my next pick.
Ooh, see, I didn't even think of Sean Payton because I'm just so out on him now. All righty, Samter. See, there's 2 names that I still am contemplating. One I have to take over the other, but I hope you 2 don't leave this person off the list. That's all I'm going to say, because one affiliate in particular will be pretty mad if you leave this person off the list. But go ahead, Samter. You get 2 picks.
So I'm going to go with a guy. Now, he's been down also, and he just lost his top wide receiver. But he's won a lot of games in the playoffs, and the only time he loses is to the Chiefs. So I'm going Sean McDermott next. He's won some big games. And when he loses close ones to the Chiefs, who are maybe the best team of our generation.
Can I just ask this? What big game has Sean McDermott won in the postseason? He gets out of the first round, and the second round, it's a disaster. You know, the biggest one I could think of was the divisional round matchup against the Baltimore Ravens when Lamar Jackson got concussed and also threw the game away to Teron Johnson. But okay, that's it. McDermott's a good coach. He's a solid coach, and I guess when you're on your 3rd pick, it's not the end of the world, but I was surprised to hear that one.
Yeah, I think that, when you run into the Chiefs buzzsaw all the time, eventually, you just lose to a better team, and there's not much you can do about that. So I'm waffling between two guys. I love Mike McDaniel. I love him. But his only playoff experience has been an utter disappointment so far. So I'm going to go with a guy who...
Well, actually, just to correct you on that, good, then bad. Because when he was hitting the G-Pen on the sideline up against the Bills, they didn't win the game, but they gave a competitive effort with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. But then the following year, that offense didn't show up in Kansas City. Okay, so go ahead.
So he's 0 for 2.
Wait. You didn't go McDaniel.
I'm not going McDaniel.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm not going McDaniel. So the guy I'm going to go with is a guy, he burst onto the scene this year. He won a playoff game this year. He just added a top-level wide receiver. He's got the best young quarterback in the NFL. I'm going DeMeco Ryans. I have a lot of faith in Mr. DeMeco Ryans.
All righty. There's 3 coaches that I think it's a little problematic that they have not been selected yet. But anyway, what do you got, Stu? Go ahead.
Yeah, there are a few here that I'm kind of waffling between. I'll go Doug Peterson. I know this year wasn't that good, but he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. I think he can get it done. There's a couple other names here. Maybe I'll kick myself for not taking them, but I think Doug Peterson can win a big game, so I'll go him.
All righty. Let me go through the full list here. Doug Peterson was one I was thinking of. He had to be on the list because he won a Super Bowl, and he won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles as his quarterback. The name I was talking about, which I can't take this name because there's another coach that's better, but I'm surprised that no one has taken Matt LaFleur. He has done a good job. AFC East, no egregious miss here. AFC North, there is no egregious miss here, besides one that I'll get to, and I'm going to make that selection. We took care of DeMeco Ryans. We took care of Doug Peterson. The AFC West, I was a little surprised Sean Payton gets on the list, but I understand the past history, and he didn't like Russell Wilson. Can't go Sirianni right now. Can't go Mike McCarthy, so I'm good with that. We got Campbell covered. You look around. Here's the name that I think has to be on the list. The guy that has to be on the list right now is Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski, I know he's only won one playoff game, but he got Baker Mayfield to double-digit wins, and then without a quarterback this year, Joe Flacco comes off the couch, double-digit wins again. So I take Stefanski. I know a lot of Packers fans are going to be upset that Matt LaFleur is not on the list. So let's just real quickly compare and contrast when we take a glance at their list compared to our list. For Tony Dungy, it was Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, DeMeco Ryans, Doug Peterson, Todd Bowles. None of us did take Todd Bowles. And for Devin McCourty, it was Sean McVay, Mike Tomlin, Kyle Shanahan, Dan Campbell, and Mike McDaniel. None of us did take Mike McDaniel. So my selections were Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, Jim Harbaugh, Kevin Stefanski, head coaches you picked to win a game right now. Samter goes with Sean McVay, Dan Campbell, Sean McDermott, and DeMeco Ryans. And Stu takes John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, Sean Payton, and Doug Peterson. I like Stu's list a lot. I think Stu has a really solid list, if I may say so myself. I thought if you want me to give an objective opinion there, Stu, you may have won this exercise potentially. So
all right, I'll take it.
We'll give you 10 Odyssey coins, all right? Bart Winkler is going to join us next. Winkler Wednesdays. It is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's a battle for CBS Sports Radio. Zach.
Lethargic, putrid, pathetic. Quitters. They're quitters. What a joke.
Bart.
Something fun to talk about. That's what we do here. It's like, hey, guys, it's like we're just hanging out at a bar talking sports.
It's time for Winkler Wednesday. Only on the Zach Gelb Show.
Rocking and rolling. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Time to talk to my pal, Bart Winkler, the host of the Bart Winkler Show right here on many of these same CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, you can catch our show streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio if you want to see Bart and I chop it up every Wednesday. But you can listen to Bart Monday through Fridays from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Bart, I would ask you how you're doing, but I know you are a massive Milwaukee Brewers fan, and the hope and the dream of them going 162-0 this year is now over, as you did attend the ball game today, and the Brewers did suffer their first loss on the season, 7-3 and an L to the Minnesota Twins. So how you doing otherwise than that?
Very upset, almost canceled on you, but thought I would
rise through. I wanted to go today because I missed opening day. I've been to, I think, 10 straight opening days, but I missed opening day. But I also like going to the day after opening day because there's a lot less people that go.
And it's
So
the real
like,
fans.
Yeah, it's the thrill of the game, but shorter lines. It's easier to get places. There's more like leg room. I don't ever want to go back. Ever want to go back to these days, but when things started opening up after COVID, like I went to a lot of games because it was kind of cool.
That's not what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say when you were unemployed, you also went to a lot of games too. That's what I thought you were traveling down that road.
Well, I don't want to go back to those days either.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. I put the cart ahead of the horse right there on that one. So anyway, let me ask you about the stadium. You know, you took me once to that stadium, but it wasn't when the stadium was open for fans to kind of go in.
I took you to
a
see the
baseball
team
game.
store.
Yeah, pretty much. You gave me a private tour. It was very nice when I did spend time with you in Milwaukee. But now, when you go to the Mets Stadium at Citi Field, the food, it's like gourmet ballpark food. Like, I always thought the cheesesteak was really good, the filet mignon cheesesteak. But now they have Adam Richman, Man vs. Food, having a burger there. They have a rainbow cookie stuffed in an egg roll. I just think at Citi Field, which supposedly is the best ballpark food, according to Darren Rovell, so can take that considering the source, but the food at Citi Field is usually good. But now it's not traditional ballpark food. Like, there's something about having a hot dog at a baseball game and then trying something else. So how is the food at the ballpark in Milwaukee?
There's a lot of updated options similar to Citi Field. I think if you're going to enjoy that kind of spread, you need to be in some sort of like club seating or box seating.
Yeah.
I had lunch there today. I got a brat and some fries where they poured nacho cheese on it. I mean, real rudimentary stuff that you could get at like a high school game. I mean,
Why not cheese curds then at that rate?
I could have got cheese curds, but the booth that I went to didn't have them, and I don't like to jump around like concession. I like to.
Gotcha.
I get one thing at one place, is what I like to do.
Gotcha. And now,
there's a lot of great options.
Cost? How
but
much is how much does a beer cost? Just wondering at the stadium.
I gotta. Well, can I drink on work days? I did have one beer.
Well, you can have one beer. You don't work till 10 p.m. at night, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I get the 8-hour window. I think a 16-ounce beer cost me like $13.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's not good, but
no, but you go to a baseball game in New
for
York
a beer,
$17.
fries, for a beer, cheese fries, and a brat, I paid $40.
All right, that's not terrible.
I mean,
not great.
It's a
ballpark,
Yeah, whatever.
By the way,
I didn't pay for parking. I didn't pay for parking because I park blocks away, so I don't have to pay for parking. Also, the Brewers tried a new system where you don't pay the attendant anymore. You have to like park your car and then scan a QR code that is on one of the light poles in the stadium. And it's very complicated. And they rolled this out for the first time on opening day, and it did not work. So everybody ended up getting free parking yesterday if they went to opening day, which probably cost the Brewers, I don't know, 20,000 cars, $25 a pop. It probably cost us a third baseman next year. So that sucks.
Or your manager, Craig Counsell. Sorry. That was a little too soon.
That's all right. Good riddance.
Go Cubs, go. Go Cubs, go. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are going to win today. Anyway, Bart Winkler is here with us. But I don't know if I could announce this, but when I get an email...
I don't know if you can, so don't.
No, I'm going to.
I don't know if you can.
Well, usually when I can't announce something, I get an email saying, don't talk about this on the air. But CBS Sports Radio, once again, is going to be at the draft. I'll be doing our show from Detroit Thursday and Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. And Bart and JR are going to be teaming up to provide the live draft coverage of the first round and then also the second and third round spanning over Thursday and Friday. So we will actually see one another coming up at the end of the month of April for a little NFL draft in Detroit.
Well, and the first thing I immediately did was The Tigers do have a day game that Friday, so I am going to go to that also. And I'm looking forward to actually meeting some coworkers.
Yeah, right. Well, you've already met me, so you get to meet JR, you get to meet Hickey, you get to meet Samter, and a few others that are going to be heading out there. So it's definitely going to be fun.
Trust me.
All righty,
I'm
let me
pumped.
get your thoughts on the Bills trade today. Stefon Diggs going to the Texans, and now the Bills are retooling. What's more interesting to you? Is it the Texans getting Stefon Diggs, or now the future of the Buffalo Bills?
Ooh, good question. I'll steal that. I think initially my thoughts went to Houston because the Bills have kind of been stuck in this. They're so close, and if there were no Kansas City Chiefs, they may have a Super Bowl at this point. But there are the Kansas City Chiefs, and they don't. With the Texans, they're already going to be a darling. They're already going to be a very popular pick to, if you don't want to take the Chiefs or I guess the Bills or whoever, you take the Texans. And there might be some good reason to do that. So my initial thought was, whoa, this is a big deal. But does the Stefon Diggs trade pack the same punch that it did a few years ago? Because one of the reasons the Bills didn't move on this year was there was a ball that went right through Stefon Diggs' hands. Now, if they can get him to, and maybe this will be good for him. We don't need you to be the number one. We got Nico Collins. He's got a great connection with CJ. They throw it to him 10 times a game. If you're good with that, so you got to take receivers.
But he won't be. You know he's all about his
so then
targets.
why make the trade? He's got to be, or otherwise why make the trade?
You want to know why? Because the Texans.
He's not the number one. Nico's the number one.
Well, no. Now Stefon Diggs they're going to cater to him and they're going to make him out to be the number one wide receiver. Nico Collins could have a better year. He had a better year last year, but they're going to tell Stefon Diggs he is the number one wide receiver. Here's the thing. The Texans, and you know it changes quickly in the NFL, they have gone from the outhouse to now infringing on being in the penthouse. And it all changes because of who the quarterback is. So you can make a move like this where I know people will say, oh, it's a 2025 second-round pick. In all things considered, it's a low-risk, high-reward move. Like if Stefon Diggs is a pain in the ass, if he's not going to be a team player, if he's going to be such a malcontent and not produce on the field, you just get rid of him. And you still have a team that was in the second round of the playoffs a year ago with a first-year quarterback. And not only that, the biggest move they made this offseason was bringing in Danielle Hunter. That's the most underrated move this offseason. That may be one of the best offseason moves this year because you team him up with Will Anderson, and that's a great 1-2 punch on the defensive side of the ball. So this is a low-risk, high-reward move, in my opinion.
I still think Joe Mixon's got a lot left in the tank, and I at least think he's a better option than what they had last year in Singletary and Pierce, so add that to it. It's tough for wide receivers because wide receivers, I understand how they become divas. I do understand that, and we always use that specific word, but they're so talented, and sometimes they're the best players on the field. But to ever get the ball, you need the quarterback to do his job, you need the pass protection to do their job, you need the offensive line to do their job, and then you need to do your job also. There's so many routes they must run where they are open, and for some reason they don't get the ball. So you're out there for 80 plays a game, you only get like 7 cracks at it. I get how they get frustrated, but you can't. It's really hard if you're going to bring in Stefon Diggs and try to massage his ego. I don't know, but say that he's the number one guy. I don't think that that's going to work. He's the number 2 guy. Nico's the number 1 guy. If you're going to have Stefon be a pretend number 1, even like that's not going to work. I don't think it'll work. He's got to be the number 2. Maybe he'll flourish in that role, but then can he? He's so used to being the number 1. I don't know. It's very interesting. At first I was shocked and like, whoa, Houston, this is big time move. And then I thought, is this going to work? The Bills obviously got rid of him for a reason. Now, I don't know who's the receiver there. Khalil Shakir? Ooh, I have him in a dynasty league. Hell yeah.
They're going to move up in the draft. They're 28. You know that Brandon Beane is aggressive. He's not afraid to kind of be a little bit like Les Snead and say bleep those draft picks. They're going to go get a top 15 pick in this draft and go get one of these wide receivers. That's what I think they're going to do.
Well, it's going to be fun to react to it live in Detroit, Zach.
Yeah, it is. I'm telling you, those draft shows, I've done them for a while, doing the live draft coverage. But now with the new time slot, they're not going to have me do both. Those you get to see some big moves. I remember the A.J. Brown trade a few years ago, and I nailed the prediction last year. I said, oh, maybe the Texans going to move back up after taking Stroud 2 and go get Will Anderson in at 3. Okay, before we let you run, Bart Winkler, I have a question that I think you'll like and then a question that you will hate. So let me ask you the question that I think you will like first. I believe the 3 best teams in the AFC right now are the Chiefs, the Bengals, and the Texans. But let's say we take the Texans out of the mix, and it's the Chiefs and the Bengals, and we're trying to figure out who that third team is, and then you can't say the Texans. Who do you believe is the third best team right now on the 3rd day of April in the year of 2024 as we get set for the football season just in the AFC?
I would say Baltimore is top 2 at least, maybe 1.
Wait. How could you say just for the 3rd spot, you're saying?
I know I'm putting Baltimore ahead of Cincinnati.
You can't put them ahead of the Chiefs, though.
I don't know. Maybe I can. I really like the Derrick Henry move.
Yeah, but in the AFC Championship game, the Ravens just lost to the Chiefs.
Yeah, well, that was we're looking ahead now. I'm looking ahead.
Okay.
I'm trying to look ahead.
See, I'm going to ask you a question now that you're not going to like, because I know how much you despise this person. And Bart is not a fan of Aaron Rodgers. Let's just call it what it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. Here's my poll question today, which I'm going to answer on the other side of the break, but I want you to answer it right now. Will the Jets win the AFC East this season? Yes, no, and the Dolphins will, or no, and the Bills will?
Can I answer that in a non-biased way? Because the Jets have gotten better. I will say the Dolphins will.
Can I just can I be the translator for you and what Bart really wants to say? Bart really wants to say he knows he should take the Jets here, but he despises Aaron Rodgers, so he will just pick the Dolphins, and he doesn't actually believe the Dolphins.
You are correct. that is a perfect translation.
You are Shohei Ohtani. I'm Ipe Mizuhara. We just don't have any of the gambling issues.
Well, let's not be so clear about that either.
All right.
I'm already having a rough day on MLB, so I gotta rebound before tonight.
All right. You can catch Bart at 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern time with David Shepard tonight on many of these same CBS Sports radio stations. Bart, thank you as always.
Thank you, guys.
All righty. There he is, Bart Winkler. Man, he went from loving Rodgers to then the last 3 years can't stand Rodgers. And now here we are where you won't even pick Rodgers to win the AFC East. We will take a break. We'll come on back. I'll answer that poll question. Will the Jets win the AFC East this season? The early returns, yes, 27.2%. No, and the Dolphins will, 35.9%. And no, and the Bills will, 37%. So the Bills, according to our poll question, still the favorite to win the AFC East. Let's send it back to New York City. Standing by with the latest CBS Sports Radio update. Here is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, speaking of the Bills, another big-name veteran is gone. Stefon Diggs dealt to the Texans along with 2 late-round picks. The Bills will receive a second-round pick in 2025, which has belonged the Vikings. Chiefs receiver Rashee Rice apologized for his role in Saturday's accident in Dallas. He issued a statement saying that he has met with police regarding the incident and takes full responsibility for his role in it and will continue to cooperate with them. Steve Clifford is stepping down as Hornets coach after the season and will remain in an advisory role, while Angel Reese is leaving LSU, telling Vogue magazine she is entering the WNBA draft. Lots of day baseball today, and right now, in the bottom of the 8th, a good one in Arizona where the Diamondbacks and Yankees are even at 2. The Guardians crushing the Mariners 8-0 in the bottom of the 5th, while the Red Sox lead the A's 1-0 in the bottom of the 8th. Also, bottom 5, it's the Padres 3 and the Cardinals 1. Finals from earlier today, it was the Angels dealing the Mariners their 7th straight loss, 10-2, while the Brewers suffered their first defeat, 7-3 at the hands of the Twins, and the Rangers 4-1 winners over the Rays. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, this is JR. Let's hang out weeknights here on CBS Sports Radio for my show, the JR Sport Brief. 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Factory Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. I'll get to our Ask the Pros question of the day in just a second, but Bills general manager Brandon Beane, not that long ago, did address reporters. Stu, play me the first cut, please, of Brandon Beane talking about the Stefon Diggs trade. Stefon Diggs was traded from the Buffalo Bills today, along with 2 other picks, to the Houston Texans, and the Texans send back a 2025 second-round pick. Here's Bills general manager Brandon Beane.
Yeah, I mean, are we better today? Probably not. Yeah, it's a work in progress, and we're going to continue to work on that. I would just hope that people know I'm as competitive as hell, and I ain't giving in, and we're gonna work through this, and we're gonna continue to look. And I'm confident in the guys we have on the roster, and I'm confident.
No, you're not.
The staff we have upstairs that helps me, that we'll continue to find pieces to add, and that we'll be ready to roll when it comes time in September.
Yeah, if you want to tell me you're confident in the guys in the wide receiving room, because that's what I'm assuming by saying the guys we have on the roster, that's just a lie. Like, I understand. What else is he supposed to say? Khalil Shakir, was good for them last year, but he's not a number 1 wide receiver. Curtis Samuel was thought to be a really dynamic player, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. You have Matt Collins, Matt Collins is fine, but he does creep me out because he walks around everywhere without shoes on. You're walking down the streets of New York City with all the rats that are running all over the place. You don't have shoes on. That's just disgusting. You have Andy Isabella. You got KJ Hamler. What I take from that, and this is nothing that's earth-shattering news because I said this 3-4 weeks ago, they're going to be aggressive in the draft. They're going to try their hardest to move up in the draft from 28 to get into the top 10, get into the top 15, and go take another wide receiver. But I appreciate the honest part of, are we better today? Yeah, probably not. You're not. And you usually don't hear general managers admit that when they make a move that with probably half the fan base, they understand it, and the other half, they're probably not happy and satisfied today. Let's hear one more cut from Bills general manager Brandon Beane.
It's not September, and I'm going to repeat that. And every team is a new team. Every year is a new year, and we haven't even had the draft yet. And so I don't think it's fair to assess what the 2024 Bills are going to look like, right? And so it's April the 3rd, 4th, again, April the 3rd. We play in September. So let's be patient and let us work through this. Was it easy? No. But if you make the best decision for the Bills going forward, that's all you can do. You can trust that. And so this organization and our fan base needs to trust that we're going to trot out a damn good team come September. And that's our plan, and that's not changing.
Maybe they explore a trade for T. Higgins. Maybe they explore a trade for Brandon Ayuk. I would think when they're going to try to make the team better, even though I'd rather have an Ayuk, even though I'd rather have Higgins more established, I think because of where they're at from a salary cap standpoint, they're going to try to get this right this year in trading up in the draft to get a first-round wide receiver. And then at the end of the year, then a free agency class from now or a trade market class from now, a year from now, they could then go out there and then trade for someone established if the guy they trade up to go get in the draft this year doesn't give them an immediate return on their investment. So maybe he has another trick up his sleeve. Maybe he's going to be able to find a way to trade for one of these wide receivers that may or may not be available, but I think it's going to be more likely done through the draft and trading up in the draft process. All righty, let's get to the Ask the Pros question of the day. And it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day, and it's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You have Ethan in Wisconsin who says, Zach, who's going to win the AFC East this year? You could submit a question by tweeting at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. So our poll question is pretty similar today. It's, will the Jets win the AFC East this season? I did not include the Patriots on this poll question. So everyone says, oh, Gelb only talks about the Patriots. He's a Patriot homer. You can shut your mouth because the Patriots have no chance to win the AFC East this year. None. Zero. Nada. Zilch. And negative 50% chance to win the AFC East this year. I'm not going to pick the Jets to win the AFC East this season. They have probably the best roster in that division, but you have Rodgers coming off the injury. You have a coach that I still don't trust in Robert Saleh, and something always goes wrong with the Jets. And I get it, right? The Bills lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. The Dolphins were practically irrelevant from ever since Dan Marino was no longer their quarterback until like the last 2 years. I know you had that Wildcat season as well, but that's many moons ago. You're going back to 2007, 2008, something like that. So I'm going to actually say the Dolphins right now would win the AFC East. Buffalo's going to take a step back. I think they retool. I believe Buffalo will ultimately get back to being the creme de la creme team in this division because they have the best quarterback who has the longest window because of his age. But I do think Buffalo takes a minor step back this season, and they retool, and they really get back on track a year from now. And the difference between the Jets and the Dolphins is just I trust Mike McDaniel more than Robert Saleh. And I also think on the offensive side of the ball, the Dolphins, even though Rodgers is better than Tua, I like the weapons in 10-7, 11 wins this year could win the AFC East. You get to 11, you should win that division. 10-7 may win it this year. I like the Dolphins' weapons better than the Jets' weapons. Garrett Wilson's going to be a stud this year. I like Breece Hall. Mike Williams is an injury waiting to happen. And I look at the Miami Dolphins. I know Tyreek Hill is going to be in that 2,000-yard picture. I know what Jalen Waddle is. We know the touchdown machine Raheem Mostert is. I think the Dolphins find a way in a year and a league now that's predicated off offense to just find a way, even if it isn't always pretty, to just get to the finish line and win the AFC East this season. So I would take the Dolphins as the team to beat in the AFC East. And we've had a dramatic turn, and a drastic turn, I should say, in the poll results from where we were in the last segment to where we are now. Will the Jets win the AFC East this season? Yes is at 21.6%. The Bills were the lead dog, knowing the Bills will. That was at 33.3%. But the team that has now usurped them are the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins winning the AFC East this season on the poll question is now at 45.1%. So you have the Dolphins at 45.1%, then the Bills at 33.3%, and the Jets in at 21.6%. And I wish people could see Samter right now because we are in a little studio here on the road in Arizona. And Samter, he is as red as a tomato right now because even though he's a Chiefs fan, he's really a Jet fan. Samter believes the Jets have one of, if not the best roster in the NFL. But I think it just shows you, even when the Jets have a good team, people always expect, I can't even say the unexpected because it's expected, the Jets to find a way to not be as good as advertised. The Jets should be a playoff team this year. And it's not crazy to say that they're going to win the AFC. You can make a case for any of these three teams. You can't make the case for the Patriots. But I will take the Miami Dolphins to win that division right now. Subject to change because it's only the third day of April Or is it the 4th day of April? It's the 3rd day of April. Now I sound like Brandon Bean. It is the 3rd day of April in the year of 2024. Tomorrow we'll be back live in Phoenix, Arizona, and we will be on Westwood One's Radio Row for the Final Four. We'll have a bunch of guests stopping on by. Big thanks to Drew Joyce III for joining us, Austin Ekeler, Bart Winkler, each and every one of you. Samter Stu, thanks so much. Talk to you manana, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace!
You're in a 5-minute break.